The dismantling and collapsing of the current order is absolutely what the Great Reset, as it's been called by the World Economic Forum in Davos, the Davos crowd, this is exactly what they want. They want inflation, overspending, debt, supply chain issues, skyrocketing energy price. They want unemployment. They want current collapse of our whole system.
Clearly, voters are stunned by the new price of gasoline. Today, the national average is $4.95 a gallon. It's almost $10 a gallon in parts of California. While President Biden and some of his team would prefer an all-electric future, the country simply isn't ready for that as of yet, not even close. Joining us tonight, Marc Morano, Executive Director of ClimateDepot.com. Marc, good to see you again.
Thank you, Doug. Happy to be here.
I'd like to ask you a question that I have been asking almost every guest we have on this program who has any kind of an economic background. And that is, do you think that these gas prices are intentional? We know that the Biden administration has largely been blaming the war in Ukraine. Others say this is by design. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think it's by design, 100%. These are not the unintended consequences of their policies. These are the intended consequences. And it's not because that's my opinion. It's because all you have to do is look at their words, their deeds, their actions, and you can go back a decade or more as well and look at the words, deeds, and action. Starting with Obama's first energy secretary, Chu, who wanted European-style gas prices in the United States. He said this in 2008. And President Obama himself said electricity rates will necessarily skyrocket, talking about the climate cap and trade bill, same concept. Then you had a UN lead scientist, Thomas Stocker, who wanted to triple the price of gas in order to achieve the United Nations climate goals. This is all on the public record. Then you fast forward, Jennifer Granholm, Biden's energy secretary, did a video with climate activist Bill McKibben in 2018, a rap video singing, "This is the end, the planet's on fire, gasoline, we've got to keep you in the ground, the world is aflame due to global warming." So the energy secretary of the United States openly advocating for keeping gas in the ground, fossil fuels in the ground. Fast forward more, we have Jen Psaki recently saying this is a great opportunity to essentially to do our renewable standards. You have the New York Times just this week praising the gas prices and high inflation because it's good for the planet. Good for the climate agenda, the supply shortages, people will eat less meat, they'll consume less. This buys into the whole degrowth movement. This is the policies they've actually called for decades, and we're now seeing it happen. And the fact that they've just announced today that there's nothing they can do, nothing further they can do about the energy costs and gas prices, that it's essentially because of Putin and they've exhausted all their options. That is completely bonkers and disingenuous.
The president himself just recently said it, and I'm quoting now. This is a very telling comment. When it comes to the gasoline crisis, we're going through an incredible transition that, God willing, when it's over, we'll be stronger, the world will be stronger, and we'll be less reliant on fossil fuels.
Yes, the chaos and the just literally I guess I would call it the dismantling and collapsing of the current order is absolutely what the Great Reset, as it's been called by the World Economic Forum in Davos, the Davos crowd, this is exactly what they want. They want inflation, overspending, debt, supply chain issues, skyrocketing energy price. They want unemployment. They want current collapse of our whole system, because what happens then? You can create a crisis or an emergency. You can declare an emergency like we did with COVID, which led to essentially particularly blue state governors becoming dictators overnight, or mayors. They're now calling for a climate emergency. Biden is already doing the Defense Production Act, wartime powers to make sure we have more solar production, which is insane when solar is 1% of our energy production. But essentially it all relates to the reset, because the goal is of these global billionaires and elites and corporate powers is you will own nothing and you'll be happy. They want a crushing of small business. They want a crushing of the entrepreneurial spirit, and they want big corporations, retail chains, and government business partnerships where everything's controlled, everyone's woke, there's no dissent, and they want to go after information flow. Misinformation's a emergency crisis. So this all relates back to this whole reset of our, not just the economy, but essentially of freedom in 21st century living.
They also want to crush any kind of dissent, any kind of opposition, and you may be Exhibit A for that. You have been branded as a heretic. You have been branded as one of the world's foremost, quote-unquote, climate deniers, although I know you don't deny there is a climate. We can all agree that there is, in fact, a climate. And the reference that they often use in criticizing you is that the consensus is 97% of the world's scientists agree that there is anthropogenic global warming, man-made global warming. You say that number, 97%, is a lie. Is it? Tell us why.
Yes, it's not only me that says that's a lie. The top UN scientist, Dr. Richard Toll, looked into one of the studies claiming this, and he said the 97% figure that's bandied about everywhere is quite literally pulled from thin air, that none of the studies that make that claim support that claim. And that was one of the studies. Another study was 10,000 scientists. They whittled it down to 77 anonymous scientists. We don't know their names, affiliations, what their views are, how many papers they published, but they claim 97% of scientists based on not even 97 scientists. It was 77 anonymous scientists.
Marc Morano is the author of the new book, The Great Reset, Global Elites and the Permanent Lockdown. We look forward to its release in the month of August. Thank you so much, Marc. Good to see you.
Thank you, Doug.